Yes,
It should ask you if you want to go on. You're good to go?
I am.
All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talk to Danielle. And today is a subject that I hold dear to my heart. And I know our guest is the same, working in schools for over 18 years. Bullying is definitely a topic that we still tiptoe around. And really so pleased to have met Kelly, our guest. I will introduce her in a second, but today's segment, I am calling it, and we are calling it "No Such Thing as a Bully." And for some people who have been victim of bullies or are going through it as well with their children, that might set you off a little bit to hear that. No such thing as a bully, but bear with us. You do want to sit in and listen to this, because this is a new change that will make a big difference in schools and with our children. So I am very happy to introduce a very close friend of mine, Kelly Karius. Thank you so much for joining me today.
I am so happy to be here talking with Danielle.
Yes. Talk to Danielle. Yeah. So I did a brief introduction. I'm not big on reading people's bios because I just like it just comes out better coming from you. So just tell us a little bit about your story and what you do and who you are.
Yeah, so I am a rare breed of private social worker. And there aren't too many of us. Most social workers end up working for government, child protection, or working in schools. And I did 1 year of child protection for the government and a few like odd kind of paid employee jobs. And I really quickly recognized that I was meant to work for myself and for my clients with no buffers or mandates about what I can and can't do. So I really quickly went into private practice with just a bachelor's of social work and not much experience. And people said, you can't do that. And I said, but I also have a mediation certificate. So I think I can. And
Yeah.
so I did. Um, and I had some just really bizarre first experiences. And one of them, the one that's relevant to No Such Thing as a Bully, is that I was hired by 20 sets of parents about a principal slash teacher who was mistreating their children in a grade 6 class. And oh, it was terrible. And our system is broken in how it deals with poor teachers,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah. So, we made a big stink, pulled kids out of schools. We did picketing, we did mail outs to let the community know what was going on. And there was no way that the school board was going to remove this teacher, even though he'd only been there a few weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, I basically was very naive and just kind of kept on nose to the grindstone, kind of trying to do something about this. And by the end of the year, the teacher just got moved to another school. So that was really disappointing. And then that summer, I had a client who was diagnosed with PTSD because of bullying. And obviously, as you say, bullying is a huge issue. So people put off by that title, stick around because this is helpful.
Yeah.
So PTSD because of bullying she had. And so I, in my, very naive 20-year-old-ish state, put in a proposal to the same school board that I had been battling against the year previous to do peer mediation. And before I knew it, there was an article in the paper that said I was banned from all of the schools. And these are schools where my children attended, banned from all of the schools in the community. I was not qualified to do the work that I was doing. I was being investigated by my ethics committee and a couple of other things, just kind of skirted around the edge of saying that I was a danger to children. And so then it took forever for the ethics committee investigation to conclude. And once it did, I sued the director of education after battling the ban with the schools for that year. So, that really got me looking at, what are we doing here? What are we doing? If adults act like this, why on earth would we expect our kids to do any better?
That's right. And if it's in our school system, this is how the school handles you coming in to help with the bullying. And yeah, how can that be fixed? And you're right. And I think this is what I like about your story, is that naivety that you're talking about. I think that's what got you to actually push through, because when you're kind of set in the system's ways, there's like, oh, what's the point, right? But you're just, oh, they told me they
Yeah.
can't do it, watch.
Oh, yeah. And
That's what I
boy, oh
like.
boy, we really like Ministry of Education and Children's Advocate and Ombudsman, and like, yeah, that naivete definitely kept things going, but then also exposed things
Mhm.
to me that I was like, yeah, this is no good. This
Yeah,
cannot be how we are doing things.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So that was the follow up to my next question is, how did no such thing as a bully come? There's the zero tolerance thing is kind of what we're going through right now, but it's so much deeper than that when it comes to bullying. And that's what I like about the no such thing as a bully. So can you explain to us a little bit how it came to
Yeah.
be? Yeah.
I have a beef about zero tolerance, because as I was going through that whole experience, we could zero tolerance it all over the place. Zero tolerance, this parent spoke out too harshly, and now we're done talking to that parent. Zero tolerance, this kid had an outburst, and now we're done working with that kid. And so I just really have a problem with that. And I think that what we've fallen to, maybe because we just don't know what to do, what we've fallen to is mindless consequencing.
Mhm.
So instead of looking at, well, what is actually happening here? Who has the power in the situation? What are the dynamics of bullying that are directly involved in the situation? Instead of doing that, we just go, bullying.
There's something going on. Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry, I have my phone on do not disturb, but a call came through and it shut everything out. So
That's
I
okay.
apologize about that. So as you were talking about how you're just shutting people out, and then I think that's when it cut out.
That's funny.
Ironically,
That
that's
is very
exactly where it
ironic.
cut out.
Yeah. So, when the zero tolerance just shuts people out, and we don't treat it mindfully in ways that go, what are the dynamics of bullying that are going on in this situation? What makes it bullying? Could it be something else? And we're not, with the zero tolerance, we're not making that examination. We're just shutting people down.
Yeah, I've noticed that too when working in the schools, is you would have this child who's being bullied for a couple of years, and then one day enough is enough, and they just fight back. They fight back, and they're the ones who get the consequences. So for the entire school year, they're the ones being the victim, and then all of a sudden they have that one outburst and they're suspended. So there is definitely it doesn't go
Yeah.
to the in depth, and
Yeah.
I think that's how you came up with that new vocabulary of how we should. And that alone, I think it's great to educate the adults
Yeah.
to know how to handle this, because it's not just for the person being bullied or the bully, but for everybody that's witnessing this, to
Yeah.
change the vocabulary around it so that we're more aware of what's happening. So can you share that a little bit with us?
Yeah. The vocabulary changes to talk about bully actions and victim responses. We all use bully actions from time to time. We all use victim responses from time to time. One set of skills solves both. And that has to be not just in the hands of the kids, but also in the hands of their parents. And so when you change that language, one of my favorite things is going into a group of students or adults, it really doesn't matter, and saying, who in here is a bully? Put up your hand if you're a bully. And you might have one or two, people that'll put their hand or point at somebody else, or, some people just laugh. And then I'll say, okay, put your hands down. And then I start asking, okay, who has ever left somebody out of something on purpose? Who has ever talked behind someone's back? Who has ever called someone a name? Who has ever physically hurt someone? And, and the hands go up and up. And so I said, well, isn't it interesting? And isn't it interesting that there's no or very few bullies in here, but there's a room full of people using bully actions. And that's where we need to really start looking. And if we can make everybody strong enough that they don't need to use bully actions, they can just express themselves without using bully actions. And also strong enough that they don't have to use victim responses.
Right.
That's going to change everything.
It changes everything, yeah, for children and for the adults as well who are handling it, because often parents will have bully actions when they're trying to stop the bullying that their child is experiencing. So that changes everything.
Or even victim responses in their own lives. Like there's lots of parents that go to work and have somebody there that they want to say something to, but they don't feel like they can. And so that's strengthening when parents and children both learn it. It can create that culture change for them in all areas of their lives. Yeah.
That's amazing. I know that you have, there's no such thing as a bully system, has gone into some of the schools. What kind of results are you seeing with this movement when you're implementing it in the schools and you have quite a great system for it?
I get very good feedback from students. Feedback saying things stopped right away. Things changed right away. Feedback that says, I feel stronger. When I first enter into a school system, there tends to be pushback from staff because there's this sense of, oh, here's one more thing for us to do. And I get it. When I watch, when I've been in schools and I'll watch a kindergarten teacher, a grade 1 teacher, and they're moving every minute of every day. And, at one point I watch a kid come in and he needs his shoelace tied. And so teacher's down on the floor, and then another kid comes in and says, Bobby, push me off the swing. And the teacher says, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. The kid goes and sits down. And then I imagine that kid going home and saying, Mom, Bobby pushed me off the swing again. And Mom says, did you tell your teacher? And the kid says, yes. And then the mom says, they don't do anything there. And it's just like how the expectations on teachers are huge. So I get that pushback when I come in, but I've had comments when I leave, like, this is a system that is going to be in our school for generations. This is a system that once it's learned, it just keeps on feeding and fueling itself, because once it's learned by one group of people, it becomes modeled for the next group of people. And so it becomes just a flow that can absolutely go right through generations.
Yeah. I think coming from the children, it kind of motivates the adults to act a little bit more when they see the results. They kind of follow suit. Is there anything that you would say the program has taught you that you weren't expecting when you implemented it?
Yeah. So here's one of the biggest things is that when I wrote my first draft of it, and I felt like it was more than a draft. I felt like it was done. I felt like I'd had this huge accomplishment. And it had all the lessons that are still there, but it was using the words bully and victim still. And I pushed back from my seat, really proud of myself. And And then I felt like an electric shock go through me.
Mm,
And since then, I've called that my God shock, that needs listening to. And in that instant, I knew that I had to use bully action and victim response,
mm,
and make that whole change. And so, one of the things that it has taught me, is to really stay open to changes that are needed to it. Stay aware, listen to that God voice, but also to the people who are using the system,
mhm.
because they have amazing ideas for ways to include it and activities that can be done to integrate things. And so really that learning to stay open to feedback and open to change,
Yeah,
has been huge with this project. Yeah.
that's a good point that you bring. Is every time there's a change, everything looks great on paper, but when once you put it into action, that's when you know what needs to be changed. And if
Yes.
you're very committed to the first draft of it, that's where you do get resistance. So that's good. That's good that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Um, there is, and this is something, this kind of my own personal question here. I'm going to be selfish about it because I am a big advocate of things really do need to change in our school systems and how things are appropriate. And I'm not saying that everything is wrong, but there is a need to update, and people are very resistant to change. So, what would you say from your experience? Because you're in it, you're immersed in this topic. What why is it so important that these changes happen now, that we really do stop saying, oh, we should wait, we're not ready yet, we don't quite sure?
Yeah.
Why is it so important to jump right in?
You know, we all get this shocked. I was going to say act shocked, but it's not an act. I think it's a true feeling. We
Yeah.
all get shocked when something drastic happens in a school, when a kid commits suicide, when there's a school shooting, when there's a stabbing, whatever. We all get shocked because that's supposed to be our kids' safe place. And so, what we need to really understand right now is that every school is not being created as a safe place. And it's not more artillery or more violence that's going to help with that.
Mhm.
It really is being able to give kids and adults the tools and strengthening that they need to be able to say what's going on for them, to be able to say what they need, and to be able to prevent these kinds of things in the first place.
Yeah.
um and so when I see those um resistant schools, what I see is that there's often just sort of a window of time to slip in there, because when a when a school is really resistant to change and then something happens, sometimes they become even more resistant.
Right.
Instead of looking at, oh, this needs to change, it becomes about justifying why we did all we could. We've done everything we can. um, and one of the things that, I'm wearing this pink shirt. It says,
Right.
I will not bully, and then it says pink shirt day every day.
Hmm.
So often I'll ask schools, what do you do about bullying? And they say, well, we do pink shirt day. It's one day. It's not enough. We gotta be on it, and we gotta be proactive, um, and prevent all of those shocked feelings that come with the tragedies that happen because we're not paying attention.
That's right. And we shouldn't be doing that after there's a tragedy that happens. So you do it every day. It prepares you. It's preventative to actually not have it happen. So yes,
Yeah,
I agree with you with that. It is important. And once you implement that change, you realize it's much easier in the end. You're actually making things a lot easier for you.
yeah,
Um, is there anything that you could like, just a couple of things that you could share with us now that adults could start doing without even integrating the program into the schools yet? Little
yeah.
things that could really help parents that are listening today to say, I'm going to make that one little change today, and see, start spreading the kindness movement along.
Yeah. So here's the one little change that I think almost everyone can grab onto and make, is to pay attention to your fight or flight response.
Mm,
And so that is a huge part of the strengthening that comes from no such thing as a bully. So when you feel threatened, and it can be a thought that goes through your head, or it can be actually somebody in your face. The blood, real simple explanation, the blood goes out of your brain, goes into your big muscles to get you ready to fight, ready to run. You get that shot of cortisol, you get that shot of adrenaline. And if you are not really aware of this, you can be having several fight or flight responses every day and building up that adrenaline and that cortisol in your system. So as parents, one of the first things we can do to just calm everything in our homes, in our work, in our relationships, is to recognize that 3 deep breaths will get that blood back up to your brain. And if you get that blood back up to your brain before you speak or before you take another action, you're going to be better able to express yourself.
mm,
So a real awareness of that fight or flight response in yourself as a parent, and then also in your kids, and a real awareness of how communication can peak that fight or flight response. So depending, as parents, one thing that could happen today is to stop using the words always, never, and should.
mm.
Those 3 words are fight or flight response razors.
Yes. And
Yes.
those are hard. I did that exercise. Those are hard. I never realized how often I said, this always happens, or this, it's,
Yeah.
yeah. So just
And
those little things.
if you're like, oh, well, this always happens to me, that's instantly like, holy, if this always, that's terrible. That's
Yeah,
terrible that this always happens. And so boom, fight or flight response.
that's right. No, those are
Yeah.
great. Yeah. So I encourage everybody to try this. It sounds, but it really is just those
It,
tiny little tweaks on how we approach, and practicing with your child, not when they're in fight or flight, but when they're calm, and talk about it so that they can build confidence on it, and they can
yeah.
also build those skills. Can you just kind of tell us what is next? What is new? What is happening now to
Oh
take this
my
movement forward?
gosh, I have such big plans. So I drive around in a bright green 2001 Honda Civic, and people sign it with a marker to pledge kindness. And a
Mhm.
lot of times when I ask them to come sign it, they don't understand what I'm saying. I'll say, come sign my car. And they think, card? Does she want me to come sign a card? Uh, because it's just like so out of the box that
That's right.
the people are like, what is this? So it's bright green, it's beautiful, it has affirmations written all over it, it has inspiration for other people, it starts conversations. There's a lot of times when even just having it parked on the street outside my house, I came out the other day and there was 3 boys on their bikes, around it, reading it. And I was like, hey, you want to sign it? Yeah, we do. So
Yeah.
it really gets those conversations going. So now I have the opportunity to purchase a really reasonably priced camper van, which I'm
Mm,
going to move into for 2 years, and take no such thing as a bully and moment of kindness on the road across Canada into the United States. Um,
mm,
get a bright green wrap on that camper van and collect signatures along the way. And so I'm looking for, any organization that sees this as an opportunity that is good for them. I am willing to have a conversation and see if you want your logo put onto the camper van traveling across Canada and into the United States. And I've
yeah.
also got a fundraiser going, a $5 fundraiser. So we're asking people for 5 of their dollars. And the money is important to me because I need to buy the camper van. But even more important than that is to share and to really make people aware that this is out there, and then also to build the movement. So, you know, each donation, each of those $5 is somebody joining in the movement and saying, I am here for this. I am here to deliver kindness into the world and to promote kindness. And so our goal is 3,000 $5 donations. And so we need all the help that everyone and anyone can give us.
That's actually very reasonable. And you just were literally the first thing that came to my mind was put your money where your mouth is. Everybody says they want to make a change. They want to, you know, this is it. $5 is actually a very good way to say, I'm backing this up, and let's get this movement going. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And just I've seen it, and I encourage. I will share all of your social media contact as well, but you do post how people react to the kindness car, and you know how they just, there's some people that are sprawled out on the ground trying to sign the bottom part of the car, and it's just absolutely amazing how everybody gets involved. So
Yes.
this is wonderful, and that raise that awareness and get people to do their little part to make that change. That's beautiful.
It's you know, that $5 and I know, you know, lots of people will do the pay it forward at a Timmy's or Starbucks. And in this case, you passed that $5 this way, and I promise you that I will take that and monumentally roll it into more kindnesses than you can even imagine. So yes,
right.
please join the movement and make a small donation over there.
That's right. For those who are listening, I will post the link where you can make a donation in the comments, so that you are able to join in. And I guess before, I was going to ask you, how can people reach you if you wanted to just say kind of out loud, and then we'll add it to the comments as well.
Yeah. So my website is nosuchthingasabully.com. Kelly at nosuchthingasabully.com to email me, KELLY at nosuchthingasabully.com. And my phone number is 403-447-4404. It is out there in the world, and if I can help you in any way, please dial it.
Yes. And it is not a lot of people are willing to have that phone line open, but it just shows that your heart is in it and that you're taking this seriously. I do have one question that I ask everybody, because that's a question that a little girl had asked me once when she interviewed me, and she was getting upset because nobody was answering her question, and I did, because I'm just a big kid at heart, and I promised her I would ask everybody that I interview. So Kelly, what would you like to be when you grow up?
When I grow up, I would like to be someone who keeps on jumping every day. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, and I can see that. I know you well enough to know.
I don't think I want to grow up and have a profession, you know, but I just want to like grow up and keep on jumping every day in some way. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hopscotching and skipping.
Keep the child in you alive. Yeah, that's what kids do. I love it. That's wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much for giving us all the information, and I encourage everybody to go and check Kelly at work. It is incredible to watch, and it's a movement that really needs to be out there to make that change for both the adults and children. It's beneficial for everybody. Is there any just kind of advice or words of wisdom that you would like to share with children and their parents or adults? Yeah.
Gratitude and grace, always. So be grateful for all of the little blessings that you have around you, and show yourself grace so that you can show other people grace. And by that, I mean, just treat yourself kindly. Look at yourself kindly. Don't beat yourself up for mistakes. Treat yourself with grace.
I think that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining me. And again, for everybody listening, I hope this helped you. And we always encourage you to reach out if you have any questions or need any help. And until then, stay safe, stay awesome, and we'll see you soon.